All right, first episode of the Craft Micro Skill Series. No Dip Pat. Pat Connaughton, one of the masters of the no dip corner jump shot. Basically, the dip is your shooting form where you will catch the ball and then dip the ball toward your waist following your knee bend. So in this occasion, Pat Connaughton in the corner is going to catch that ball, and that ball is going right up. There's no dip. There's very little bending of the knees. So typically when a shooter catches that ball is going down toward the waist as the shooter gets into his knee bend to load up to get that shot off. When Pat Connaughton needs to quicken that release point up a little bit, he will just simply go right up and do a shot. Now here's a couple looks at his typical shooting form. When he has room, he's going to dip the ball traditionally. As he does, the knees bend and the shot goes up. That is a traditional shooting form, but when he needs to get a shot up quickly in the corner, he is going to just get that ball, and that ball is going right up. Now, this is a shot that requires a lot of upper body strength because you are not bending your knees. If you watch his knee bend, there is very little bend. There's some, but there isn't much. So when you're dipping that ball, you are bending your knees at the same time. That ball is just going right up, and that is a lot of upper body strength to be able to have the power to get that shot up. Now, watch Steph Curry, who sometimes will say he doesn't dip the ball, but he does. And that dip is in sync with his knee bend. As he bends his knees, that ball's going down, and then he's up and he's shooting for him. But on these clips by Connaughton, there's very little bending of the knees, and that is how you can have a quicker release. When you don't bend your knees and you don't dip, that ball can come out of your hands quicker than if you were going dip, bending of the knees, and out. But if you're going to not dip, but you're still bending your knees, then you're really not gaining any sort of quickness on your release point. And if you watch these Connaughton clips, comparing it to what he was when he's traditionally shooting with a full dip, he is having very little slight bending of the knees. It is mostly an upper body shot. And the guys that tend to do this on a consistent basis are some of the best shooters in the entire NBA. And I wanted to just highlight a few of them around the league that do this. And we're going to start with Trey Murphy III of the Pelicans. One motion shooter who has that ability to just kind of omit some of the lower body strength needed to get that shot off. Now, he will deploy a slight dip, so it's a little bit of a cheat because he's not eliminating the dip completely. It's there, but it's subtle. As I zoom in here, you can see it is a slight dip. You're going to miss it if you don't really look for it. Just that little bit of a motion down, and then that gives him enough momentum to make this work. And then the guy I think is one of the more famous no-dip shooters that's Joe Ingles. He will catch that ball. There is very little dip in that shot. Now, he's more of a two-motion shooter, so that just requires even more upper body strength to get that off. And then Kyrie Irving, he will deploy a no-dip. Just another example of his incredible diversity as a shooter. That ball is just going into his hands and up and out. And then some guys that aren't playing anymore, Anthony Morrow, kind of a journeyman shooter, but he was a unbelievable no-dip shooter, and he did this, which is even more incredible, all over the court. So above the break, corners, incredible diversity as a no-dip shooter, and a guy that used this skill to really enhance his incredible shooting touch. And then finally, we're going to end it with Manu Ginobili, a guy that was a spectacular spot-up shooter that would bring this technique out when he needed to speed up his release point in just a little bit. But again, he needed to be a phenomenal shooter to even think about no-dipping his three-point shots. For The Craft, this is DJ Zulo.